Jeff, Zach, thanks for joining me.
Hey, Steve. Thanks for having us
What?
again.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, we are talking again about some of those downtowns that are having some office issues. And what are you going to do with some of these offices? Uh, you know, the conversion to housing. Right now in New York City, we're seeing 60 buildings being converted into homes, remodeling and transforming them. We know there's some issues with that, but that's definitely a trend we're seeing in some of these places, although by some estimates, only about 3% of New York City office buildings are really viable for that kind of conversion. Um, then we're seeing also conversions um, into film studios being talked about. Not a use I think we saw coming, but that comes with how they're filming movies nowadays with built-in LED screens, and that you could take a look at some of these big office buildings that might be susceptible to that kind of conversion. And going with that, but we're also maybe a little bit more seriously conversion into data centers. Particularly for those centers where you want to be closer to the user, with some trading applications, some other applications, just, split seconds, can be a difference, in getting the outcome users want to get as far as computing results. But those are just some of the uses we're seeing, in some of these struggling downtowns for some of this property. But your guys' thoughts on, what we're gonna do where in some of these downtowns, where you really do have a problem. Your thoughts?
Look, I think it's kind of a ongoing trend, or maybe just let's call it what it is. It's kind of a cycle, something that happens in real estate a lot. You've got a property with one use that for whatever reason, at whatever point in time, has some issues and gets converted to something that's better use because of its location or whatever it may be. So, I think this is just something that we'll continue to see throughout history, well beyond our years. But I don't think it's some of these other areas, these bigger downtown areas, they're gonna have to make sense of all the money that's been poured into these buildings and try to figure out something to make use of them.
Well, I tend to agree, and you don't want to go too far too fast.
Yeah,
Downtown areas are suffering now. You get rid of these office buildings, but you're seeing the trend, and it's becoming a very strong trend of return to office. You're also seeing businesses start. If there's a soft landing or a hard landing, there will be another bull run after that, depending on how that goes. People will be starting businesses, will need more space. You convert all of these buildings, you're not going to have enough office space.
that's
And
right.
you saw that in retail. And we always talk about the renaissance of retail, where retail was going to die, big box stores were going to disappear. Best Buy is still in business. They closed 12 stores. They still got hundreds, if not thousands more. They haven't gone anywhere. It's been 20 plus years they've been competing. You're going to see that with office too. People need offices. You're not going to have enough office supply. So honestly, these conversions, they're great. I'm looking more at the opportunity of which ones are not being touched, which ones are going to be bad opportunities for these people to convert. Because when there's not enough office space, I'm going to be the only office provider in town, and I'm going to see, I think, a renaissance and a revitalization in the office space. And I think it's going to happen sooner than people think it will.
Look at we have a market that we've invested in that we are well aware that a lot of the office properties have been converted to hotels. And have really downsized all the office square footage in that market, and have caused people to have to look elsewhere to find better office space because they're still businesses, they're still running, they just can't stay in those buildings.
Right.
Yeah, I think the market you're talking about is Charleston, right, Jeff?
No,
Savannah.
Oh,
Savannah.
Savannah. Okay. Yeah. So I wasn't sure if it was one or two, but that's a city people want to live in. I honestly think that's maybe the first place you go rather than hoping you can deal with the problems of converting elevators, of getting the right lighting, of converting electricity, of doing this. A lot of these buildings are just going to be a monster problem to convert. Yeah, yeah, there's going to be a few, that because of how they were built or whatnot that aren't really crazy,
Yep.
costly conversions. But I think the first place you go if you're sensible, and I've worked with politicians before, so I'm not calling them sensible. Call them a few other things, but sensible I won't call them. Is you get these places back to being places you want to live in. And I mean, and I think if you do that, a lot of these problems will go away. San Francisco, if you kind of, and they did it when Xi visited. For 48 hours, there were no homeless people there, and the streets were clean. If you
Oh,
could stretch that out for more than like 48 hours when the president of China is visiting, I think a lot of your problems with filling up these properties would get solved. And I think, love them or hate them, but when Giuliani was around, people weren't shoving people in front of subways. It makes a difference. People don't like to be shoved in front of incoming subways. So, I do think that would be the easiest thing you could do to deal with this because to Zach's point, people are coming back to the office. People are still working in the office. We're not hearing about these problems. So we're not hearing about these kind of conversions in the suburbs. We're not hearing about them in Savannah or Charleston. Those are fun cities to live. We're certainly not hearing about them in Nashville or Miami where people are still moving in. Anyhow, I'll get off of my soapbox, but that's my little thing is like, hey, clean up
well,
your
I was
city.
gonna say it's not a necessarily a popular opinion, Steve. You might upset some folks, but you're not wrong. I talked to somebody who is part of a very large firm, and they're actually in San Francisco. They're leaving San Francisco for that exact reason. They were tired of the front doors being overcrowded with homeless, and they didn't want to step over people. They didn't feel safe, so they moved their business out. It's not that they didn't want the office space. So, that's another example right there. You're going to convert the offices into houses. If you still have homeless people, no one's going to want to live in those homes anyway. You're still going to have
Right.
vacant buildings. I think there's an opportunity, and I think that the conversions are going to move too quickly, and that we're going to be able to pick up some good deals. But I think you're right. It comes back to you got to solve the other problems first of why businesses don't want to be there, as opposed to that you just have vacancy.
Okay,
I'm,
appreciate the
I'm good with
insights.
that.
Okay. Hey, give us a thumbs up. In the comments field, let us know if you think I in particular are completely wrong about this. But you can let Zach and Jeff know if you think they're wrong about stuff too. Give us a thumbs up, click subscribe, and visit our website, selectfincap.com. Get on our newsletter list and see exclusive commercial real estate investment opportunities. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.